David Wessel, Senior Fellow in Economic Studies at the Brookings Institution. David, a lot of people I've talked to think the Fed is talking tougher than they really intend to be. Are we going to get some tough talk, you expect, over the next few hours?
I think so. I think that's wishful thinking on the part of some people in the markets that the Fed believes it's basically won the war against inflation, that it'll be freaked out if the economy slows too much, and some people are even predicting rate cuts in 2023. I expect, without any inside information, that Powell will emphasize that his priority is bringing down inflation, and they will keep interest rates up until they make progress on that goal.
There's a difference between keeping rates up and continuing to raise them aggressively. And it seems at this point, a lot of people are wondering how far is going to be far enough and how quickly is the Fed going to get there? How are we going to know that aside from, when it happens?
Well, we won't really know, but that's one of the advantages of these Fed projections every other month where they tell us what they think the terminal rate is. There seems to be widespread agreement, if you look at Fed forecasts and what people in the markets are saying, that they're going to take rates up perhaps another percentage point by the end of this year. I think the big question is what happens after that. And that's when the decisions get really tough. It's not very hard to go from 0 to 2.25% when you have 8% inflation. But as Esther George said to you, or the other Fed FOMC president, the lags are long and variable. So I think the close calls will come early next year. It'll depend, of course, on the data, but it'll all depend on what risk they're willing to take. Are they more worried about too much inflation, or are they more worried about a recession? And we don't really know yet.
How much do you think the consumer behavior around the holiday season, the impact on retail, all of that will play into it? I mean, we've seen, talking about real estate and the impact there of rising rates. We've seen gas prices ease off, which were a big component of overall inflation. How do you expect that in Q4 to work together?
Well, I think there are two things that the Fed will be watching in that regard. One is what's happening to consumer spending. And if it looks like consumer spending is unusually strong or usually weak relative to past holiday seasons, they'll take note of that. But I think even more important is they seem to be very fixated on inflation expectations. We don't have very good measures of inflation expectations, but they seem to look at the surveys we have, the Michigan survey and others. And so I think they'll be watching very carefully. One reason they talk so tough on inflation is they want to prevent an inflationary psychology from taking hold. They want to make sure that people understand that today's inflation is not going to be tomorrow's inflation. And that's one reason why they speak so strongly and harshly about that. They want to prevent inflation from getting embedded in wage and price and bargaining and rent decisions.
Speaking of wages, what do you expect to see in Q4 as so many retailers are looking for a spike, peak season? They're always scrambling to try to find more workers, but that's happening at a time when the supply of workers is unusually tight. They might have to pay more, which actually ends up adding to inflation and cutting profits.
Right. Well, so far, real wages adjusted for inflation have been falling, not rising. I think they're going to bind. Apparently retailers have a lot of inventory, so that's going to limit how much they can raise prices. And they are going to have trouble hiring workers if conditions continue. I've been surprised at how strong the job market has been. I expect it'll slow down, so they may have an easier time. One really interesting issue is that immigration is way down, and that's an important source of labor supply growth in the U.S. So I'll be interested in seeing whether the business community pushes even harder to open the doors to immigration, legal immigration, of course, in order to deal some of their labor supply issues.